My name is Natalie Pierce. I'm 27 years old. For 19 years, my parents called me the dumb, skinny one, while my sister Brooke won beauty pageants and collected modeling contracts like trophies. They mocked my weight at family dinners, excluded me from their fashion empire meetings, and paid me minimum wage while Brooke pulled six figures. But at Brooke's campaign launch at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, in front of 450 guests, a lawyer I'd never met handed me an envelope that would expose every lie my parents ever told about me. What they didn't know, my aunt had been watching. She saw everything, and she left me something that would flip the entire Pierce dynasty upside down. The Pierces were new money Los Angeles, the kind of family whose name appeared on billboards and Fashion Week programs. My mother, Victoria Pierce, ran Pierce Beauty, a cosmetics and fashion empire my aunt, Caroline Pierce, had built from a single boutique in West Hollywood in 1995. By 2024, the company was valued at $134 million. I was born premature, 2 months early. The doctors said I was lucky to survive. What they didn't say was that I'd spend my childhood underweight, struggling to gain curves, watching my body refuse to cooperate no matter how many supplements my mother forced down my throat. My parents' response wasn't support, it was shame. When I was 10, they hired coaches for Brooke, pageant consultants, stylists from New York, nutrition experts who charged $400 an hour. When I asked about getting help with my studies, about maybe focusing on school instead of appearance, my father Richard just scoffed. "Natalie, we've already spent a fortune on specialists for you. At some point we have to accept that some girls just aren't meant to be in the spotlight." I was 10. I believed him. So I learned to survive on my own. Books became my refuge. I developed a system of understanding markets, analyzing trends, seeing patterns in consumer behavior. And every Sunday afternoon, I'd drive to my Aunt Caroline's penthouse in Century City, where she'd sit with me for hours, teaching me about business, about brand building, about seeing opportunities others missed. "Nat," she told me once, her elegant hand covering mine, "you might not fit their definition of beauty, but you understand people better than anyone I've ever met. That's not a weakness, sweetheart. That's power." I didn't fully understand what she meant. Then, I would eventually, but first I had to survive another 17 years of being the Pierce family's embarrassing secret. Christmas 2018. 28 relatives gathered around the marble table in my parents' Bel Air mansion. Catered by Nobu. Professionally photographed, the annual performance of Pierce family perfection. My mother stood at the head of the table, champagne flute raised. "I'd like to make an announcement," she said, her voice carrying that boardroom authority she wore like designer clothing. "Brooke has signed with IMG Models. Exclusive contract. She'll be the new face of our spring collection." Applause. Cheers. Brooke smiled with practiced grace, her perfect figure wrapped in custom Valentino. "My eldest daughter," Victoria continued, beaming, "will be the first Pierce to appear on the cover of Vogue. She's going to take this family's legacy to unprecedented heights." More applause. Aunt Catherine air-kissed Brooke. Uncle Marcus raised his glass dramatically. Then my mother's gaze drifted down the table. To me. And Natalie. She paused. The warmth in her voice evaporated like morning fog. "Well, Natalie helps out at the office sometimes. With paperwork." A few relatives chuckled. Uncomfortable, pitying laughs. Brooke didn't defend me. She was too busy posing for someone's Instagram story. I stared at my plate. The Wagyu beef blurred through the tears I refused to let fall. Under the table, a hand found mine. Soft fingers, strong grip. Aunt Caroline, seated beside me, squeezed gently. When I looked up, her eyes held something fierce, something that looked almost like fury directed at her own sister. She didn't say anything. Not then. But 3 months later, she called me to her penthouse, said she needed to show me something important. I didn't know it at the time, but that Christmas dinner, that moment of casual cruelty in front of 28 witnesses, had set something in motion, something that would take 5 years to detonate. After graduating from USC in 2022, not with honors, never at the top like Brooke, I applied for a position at Pierce Beauty. I wanted to prove I could contribute, that the family business could be my path too. My mother agreed to hire me as a social media coordinator. Salary, $42,000 a year. That same month, Brooke joined as creative director. Her salary, $285,000, plus bonuses, plus a company apartment. My job consisted of scheduling Instagram posts, responding to customer complaints, and organizing PR packages for influencers who never remembered my name. I wasn't invited to a single creative meeting, never shown a single campaign strategy, but I watched, and I learned. I discovered something about myself during those long hours in the basement office. I could predict trends others missed. When executives discussed product launches, I'd analyze the consumer psychology, the market gaps, the untapped demographics. A skill I'd developed to compensate for not fitting the beauty standard had become something else entirely. Aunt Caroline had taught me this. During those Sunday afternoons at her penthouse, she'd spread out market research from the company's early days and show me how to read it, not as numbers, but as stories, as human behavior patterns. Your mother sees sales figures, she told me once in 2019, just before her health started declining. She looks for what's trending now. You see what's coming next. You understand the deeper why. That same day, she'd handed me a small velvet box, deep purple, with gold clasps. "Keep this safe," she'd said. "Don't open it yet. When you need it, you'll know." I'd taken the box home, tucked it in my closet, tried to forget the strange weight of her words. January 2020. Aunt Caroline's penthouse in Century City. She was 64 then, her once vibrant frame grown thin from the lupus treatments, her auburn hair faded to silver, but her eyes, those sharp, intelligent eyes, hadn't dimmed at all. "Sit down, Natalie." I sat across from her in the living room where I'd spent so many Sunday afternoons. The walls were covered with photographs. Caroline opening the first Pierce Beauty Boutique in 1995. Caroline shaking hands with Anna Wintour. Caroline accepting a Women in Business Award in 2008. Not a single photo of my mother running things. "I built this company from nothing," she said, her voice carrying decades of steel. One boutique, one dream, 25 years of work. "Your mother," she paused, and something bitter flickered across her face. "Your mother inherited the CEO position. She didn't build it. She doesn't understand what it means to create something from your soul. Aunt Caroline. She judges people by their appearance, their marketability, their ability to photograph well." She leaned forward. "I judge people by their vision, their empathy, their capacity to understand what people actually need. And you, Natalie, you're the only one in this family who knows how to see beneath the surface." She pressed a sealed envelope into my hands. "There's something inside that might help you someday. But not yet. You're not ready yet. And neither is Victoria." Her grip tightened. "When the time comes, when she shows you exactly who she is, you'll know what to do." I wanted to ask what she meant, what was inside, why she'd chosen me. But she changed the subject, started talking about the sunset, her favorite restaurant, the documentary she was watching. 16 months later, she was gone. Lupus complications. I held her hand in the hospital, one of only 2 family members at her bedside. The envelope remained sealed in my closet. April 2024. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Subject line: Position restructuring. Confidential. Dear Ms. Pierce, due to recent organizational changes, your current position will be eliminated effective July 1st, 2024. HR will contact you regarding severance options. I read it 5 times. The words wouldn't change. They were firing me. That evening, I stayed late organizing content calendars nobody would ever use. Through the thin wall separating my cubicle from my mother's corner office, I heard voices. Victoria and Richard. "Can't have her here when Brooke takes over as chief brand officer," my mother was saying. "It looks terrible. The CEO's daughter working as social media support. What message does that send?" My father's voice, always so worried about optics. "Exactly. People will wonder why we haven't promoted her. Why she's not in leadership." A pause. "Some girls just don't have what it takes," Victoria said softly. We tried, Richard. God knows we tried. We'll give her a generous severance. She can find something else. Something more suited to someone like her. I pressed my palm against the wall. $42,000 a year. My studio apartment in Koreatown, shared with a roommate, cost $1,950 a month. No savings beyond 2 months' rent. If I lost this job, I'd be homeless by September. But the money wasn't what made my chest tight. It was the realization settling into my bones like ice. If I let them do this, if I accepted their version of who I was, I would spend the rest of my life as the family failure. Not because I'd actually failed, but because I'd never been given the chance to succeed. Brooke's campaign launch was tomorrow. I wondered what other announcements my mother had planned. May 12th, 2024. Beverly Wilshire Hotel, Grand Ballroom. 450 guests filled the opulent space. Fashion editors, investors, influencers, celebrities, extended family members I barely recognized. Crystal chandeliers cast perfect light across silk tablecloths. A DJ played curated electronic music in the corner. This was Victoria Pierce's kingdom, her stage, the place where she performed her role as matriarch, as mogul, as the woman who had it all. I stood near the entrance, tugging at my H&M dress. $68, the only formal clothing I could afford on my salary. Everyone else glittered in designer gowns and custom couture. My mother intercepted me before I could find a seat. Natalie. Victoria's gaze traveled from my drugstore makeup to my Target heels, her lips pressing into a thin line. You couldn't find anything better. This is what I have. Well, she adjusted her Cartier bracelet. You'll be at table 38 near the service corridor. Try not to draw attention to yourself. Sure. And Natalie. She leaned closer, her Tom Ford perfume overwhelming. Tonight is Brooke's night. Whatever you're feeling, whatever resentment you think you're entitled to, keep it to yourself. Don't embarrass this family. She walked away before I could respond. Table 38 was at the very back of the ballroom, partially hidden by a decorative screen. My table mates were distant cousins I'd met maybe twice. From my seat, I could barely see the main stage, the massive screen showing Brooke's portfolio, the banner reading, Introducing Brooke Pierce, the new face of Pierce Beauty. And near the champagne bar, standing alone, a silver-haired woman in an elegant navy suit. She wasn't mingling, wasn't drinking, just watching. Her eyes found mine across the crowded room. Something cold ran down my spine. At 8:30 p.m., the music stopped. The lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the stage where my mother stood, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate an extraordinary young woman. The applause began before she finished the sentence. Brooke has achieved what most models only dream of. IMG contract, campaigns with Chanel and Dior, and as of today, she's the new global ambassador for Pierce Beauty. Victoria's voice swelled with pride. But tonight, I'm not just celebrating her achievements. I'm announcing her future. Brooke joined her on stage, stunning in custom Balmain, looking like she'd stepped off a runway. Effective immediately, Brooke Pierce will become Chief Brand Officer of Pierce Beauty, and upon my retirement, she will inherit my entire 51% stake in the company, making her the majority owner. The room erupted. Standing ovation. Phone cameras flashing. Brooke dabbed at her eyes with perfect precision. 450 people celebrating, and not one of them glanced at table 38. The cousin beside me, a woman I'd met at a wedding 6 years ago, leaned over. So, Natalie, what does this mean for you? I opened my mouth, closed it. What could I say? That I'd just been formally erased from my own legacy? That the termination letter in my inbox was only the beginning? That every fear I'd ever had about being worthless had just been confirmed in front of everyone who mattered? The applause died down. Brooke hugged our mother. Cameras clicked. And through the crowd, the silver-haired woman at the bar began walking toward me. Slowly, deliberately, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. The woman stopped at my table. Up close, I could see she was older than I'd thought. Late 60s, with kind eyes and the careful posture of someone who'd spent decades in courtrooms. Ms. Pierce. That's me. I straightened in my chair. Can I help you? My name is Margaret Wells. She pulled a business card from her clutch. Embossed lettering, Wells and Associates, estate planning attorneys. I was your aunt's lawyer. My aunt. The words hit like a punch. Caroline passed away 3 years ago. I'm aware. She didn't sit, didn't soften. She left something for you, with very specific instructions about when to deliver it. From inside her jacket, she produced a thick cream envelope, sealed with wax bearing a notary stamp I recognized, Caroline's personal seal. What is this? Your inheritance. Her voice dropped. The one your mother doesn't know exists. I stared at the envelope. The wax seal was dated February 8th, 2020. 1 month after that Sunday afternoon in her penthouse. 1 month after she'd handed me the velvet box. I don't understand. Your aunt gave me explicit instructions. I was to deliver this document on the day your mother publicly excluded you from the family legacy. Ms. Wells glanced toward the stage where Victoria and Brooke were still basking in applause. I believe that just occurred. My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Ms. Wells, what's in here? For the first time, something almost like warmth flickered in her eyes. Ms. Caroline told me to tell you. Give this to Natalie on the day Victoria shows her exactly who she is. By then, she'll understand what to do. She straightened her jacket. I'll be available when you have questions. You have my card. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I couldn't breathe in that ballroom. I pushed through a side exit, found an empty hallway near the kitchen. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The sounds of celebration muffled to a distant hum. My fingers shook as I broke the wax seal. Inside, a single sheet of heavy paper, handwritten in Caroline's distinctive script, and beneath it, a certified check. I read slowly, carefully, making sure I understood every word. Natalie, if you're reading this, then Victoria has done exactly what I feared she would. She's chosen conventional beauty over authentic vision. She's chosen surface over substance. She's chosen Brooke over you. I'm not surprised. I'm just heartbroken. What I'm about to give you isn't charity. It's an investment. Over the past 15 years, I've watched you analyze markets, understand consumers, see opportunities that seasoned executives miss. You have a gift, Natalie. A gift your mother is too shallow to see. I've set up a private trust fund in your name. The initial capital is $49 million, sourced from my personal holdings, kept completely separate from Pierce Beauty. This money is yours, unconditionally. No strings, no expectations, no family oversight. But I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. 1, use it wisely. Build something that matters. Create the brand you've always envisioned. 2, prove them wrong. Not for revenge, for yourself. 3, don't tell your mother until you're ready. Let her think you disappeared. Let her think you failed. And when you're successful, when you've built something extraordinary, then you can decide whether she deserves to know. I believe in you, Natalie. I always have. Your aunt, Caroline. My vision blurred. I pulled out the check. Pay to the order of Natalie Caroline Pierce. $49,000. Signed by Caroline Pierce. Dated February 15th, 2020. Held in escrow by Wells and Associates until delivery conditions were met. A sob caught in my throat. Aunt Caroline had seen everything. She'd known this would happen. And she'd prepared. I leaned against the cold wall, the check clutched in my shaking hands. My aunt had given me a weapon. Now I had to decide if I was brave enough to use it. Margaret Wells was waiting by the valet stand when I emerged. Her Mercedes was already pulled up. You read it. The check. My voice cracked. This is real. Completely real. Fully cleared funds, transferred from your aunt's private accounts over a 4-year period to avoid estate complications. The IRS has been notified. Everything is legal and transparent. She opened her car door, then paused. Your aunt was the most visionary person I ever worked with. She saw potential where others saw limitations. She saw you, Natalie. The question is, what are you going to do with this opportunity? Through the hotel windows, I could see my mother still on stage, posing for photographs with Brooke. My father circulated among guests, accepting congratulations as if he'd earned them himself. If I took this money, if I walked away and built something of my own, I would destroy every expectation they had of me. My parents would see it as betrayal. Brooke would see it as jealousy. But if I stayed silent, if I kept working my dead-end job for another 7 weeks until they fired me, I would become exactly what they'd always said I was. The failure. The ugly one. The daughter who didn't matter. Ms. Wells. I looked at the check in my hands, at the elegant signature of the woman who'd believed in me when nobody else would. I'm ready. She allowed herself a small smile. She said you would be. I'm going to pause here for just a moment. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to believe in you, if you know what it feels like to be dismissed because of how you look or what you can't do, I want you to comment the word potential below. Let me know I'm not alone in this. And if you want to see what happened when I turned that $49 million into something they never saw coming, keep watching, because we're just getting started. Now, back to the story. That night, back in my cramped Koreatown studio, I opened the velvet box for the first time. My roommate was at her boyfriend's. The only light came from the street lamp outside my window, casting orange stripes across my bed where I sat cross-legged, the purple box in my lap. Inside, a handwritten letter on Caroline's personal stationery, a faded business plan from 1995, and a USB drive, sleek and modern, clearly added much later. I reached for the letter first. My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, then Margaret has done her job, and your mother has done exactly what I feared she would. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you while I was alive, but I can protect you now. The enclosed document is my original business plan from 1995, when I founded Pierce Beauty with 2 partners who have long since left the company. Your mother has never seen it. It outlines a vision for inclusive beauty, for products that celebrate difference, for marketing that empowers rather than excludes. The USB contains something else, something your mother hoped I'd forgotten. In 2017, Victoria proposed a resolution to remove me from the board entirely. Her stated reason, I was too old-fashioned to understand modern beauty trends. The real reason, she wanted complete control, and I was questioning her increasingly narrow definition of beauty. The board rejected her proposal by 3 votes. I was one of those votes. I never forgot what she tried to do, and I never forgave her for the way she treated you to justify it, as though diminishing you somehow proved I was out of touch. Use this wisely, Natalie, not for revenge, for revolution. All my love, Aunt Caroline. I plugged the USB into my laptop. The file was labeled Board Meeting Minutes, June 2017. PDF. My mother's attempt to remove her own sister. Documented, time-stamped evidence. May 13th, 9:00 a.m. I called Margaret Wells. Ms. Pierce. Her voice was warm. I've been expecting your call. I need help. Not legal help. Business help. I want to build something, but I don't know where to start. What kind of something? A beauty brand. But different. For people like me. For everyone they've been excluding. Margaret laughed. A genuine, delighted sound. Caroline said you'd say exactly that. I have a list of contacts she prepared. Investors who share her vision. Consultants who've been waiting for someone to disrupt the industry. She prepared a list. Natalie, your aunt spent the last 3 years of her life planning for this moment. She has, or rather, you have, everything you need. Over the next 4 months, I operated in complete secrecy. I quit my job at Pierce Beauty via email. No explanation, no forwarding address. I moved out of my studio into a small warehouse space in the Arts District that doubled as my temporary office and residence. Margaret Wells introduced me to Caroline's network. Beauty chemists frustrated with the industry's lack of innovation. Marketing strategists tired of selling unattainable standards. Product developers who'd been pitching inclusive beauty concepts for years with no takers. I started building, not a company, a movement. $8 million into product development. Real skincare for real skin types, all of them. Makeup shades that actually match the full spectrum of human skin tones, not just the profitable middle. $4 million into marketing research. Understanding the psychology of beauty shame, the economics of exclusion, the demographics of the underserved. $3 million into brand development. Creating an identity that celebrated difference instead of correcting it. I wasn't trying to compete with Pierce Beauty. I was building the company Pierce Beauty should have been. My parents didn't call. They didn't text. As far as they were concerned, I'd done exactly what they expected, disappeared into irrelevance. Brooke posted on Instagram about her new role at Pierce Beauty. 284,000 likes. Comments praising her beauty, her style, her vision. Nobody asked where I was. 6 months passed. November 2024. My brand, Authentic Beauty, launched online. No traditional advertising. No celebrity endorsements. Just real people. Real stories. Real representation. Within 2 weeks, we had 250,000 website visits. Within 4 weeks, our foundation sold out in 47 shades. Within 6 weeks, Sephora reached out about potential distribution discussions. The TikTok went viral accidentally. A customer posted a video of herself crying, holding our foundation, saying it was the first time in her life she'd found a perfect match. 12 million views in 3 days. I wasn't just selling makeup. I was validating people my mother's company had ignored for decades. And I was doing it quietly. No press releases about my family connection. No dramatic reveals. Just results. December 10th, 2024. The call came at 3 p.m. Natalie? My mother's voice. I almost didn't recognize it without the usual condescension. Mom, we need to talk. Can you come to the office? I don't work there anymore, remember? A pause. I know. That's what I want to talk about. Please. I drove to Pierce Beauty headquarters for the first time in 7 months. The building looked the same. Glass and marble. The Pierce logo emblazoned across the entrance. Brooke's face on every floor-to-ceiling banner. My mother was waiting in the lobby. She looked older somehow. The Botox couldn't hide the stress beneath. Thanks for coming. She gestured toward the conference room. Can we talk privately? We sat across from each other at the same table where I'd spent 2 years scheduling Instagram posts nobody appreciated. I'll be direct. Victoria leaned forward. We've been losing market share to a new competitor. Authentic Beauty. Their inclusive marketing is resonating with demographics we've historically struggled to reach. And I've been doing research. She pulled out a tablet. The company launched 6 months ago. Founder's identity is private. But the initial funding, the strategy, the messaging, it all feels... She looked up at me. It feels like Caroline. I said nothing. Natalie. Her voice cracked slightly. Did you do this? I built something. Same as Caroline always said I should. With what money? You were making $42,000 a year. I had help. From who? I pulled out my phone. Opened a photo. The image of Caroline's handwritten note. I slid it across the table. Victoria read it slowly. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide her face going pale. 49 million, she whispered. Aunt Caroline saw something in me you never did. The conference room was silent for a long moment. Why didn't you tell me? There was something raw in her voice I'd never heard before. I laughed. Actually laughed. Tell you? Mom, you fired me. You spent 27 years telling me I wasn't pretty enough, wasn't marketable enough, wasn't built for your world. Why would I tell you anything? I was trying to protect you. From what? From success? I leaned forward. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting your brand image, the image of the Pierce family as physical perfection. I didn't fit the aesthetic, so you erased me. That's not Victoria started. Save it. I stood up. I didn't come here for an apology. You called this meeting. What do you want? She looked at the photo of Caroline's note again. What are you going to do with Authentic Beauty? Build it. Scale it. Change the entire conversation around what beauty means. And Pierce Beauty? That's your business, Mom. Not mine anymore. I walked to the door. Stopped. Turned back. You know what's funny? I spent my whole life wanting you to see me as beautiful. To acknowledge that I had value beyond my measurements. Now I don't need you to see anything. I see myself. And more importantly, millions of other people see themselves in what I'm building. Victoria didn't respond. She just sat there, staring at the table where I'd spent 2 years being invisible. I left without saying goodbye. January 2025. The article appeared in Business of Fashion. 30 Under 30, number 4. Natalie Pierce, founder and CEO of Authentic Beauty. 6-month-old brand disrupting the beauty industry with radical inclusivity. Estimated company valuation, $95 million. The article mentioned my background. Daughter of Victoria Pierce, CEO of Pierce Beauty, but it didn't dwell on it. My success stood independent of my family name. Brooke texted me for the first time in 8 months. Nat saw the article. This is amazing. Can we talk? I didn't respond immediately. My father called twice. Left voicemails that started with "We're so proud" and ended with "We always believed in you." I deleted them without listening fully. Sarah Chen, one of Aunt Caroline's oldest friends and a former board member at Pierce Beauty, called on New Year's Eve. "Natalie, Caroline would be so proud. Not just of the money, of what you're building, of how you're changing things. Thank you, Ms. Chen. Your mother's been struggling." The company's direction, Brooke's strategies, they're not connecting with younger consumers anymore. Pierce Beauty is losing relevance. I'm sorry to hear that. Would you consider? She paused. Would you consider consulting? Not joining. Just advising. They could use your perspective. I appreciate the offer, but I'm building my own thing now. She laughed softly. That's exactly what Caroline would say. The best revenge is building something better. It's not revenge, I corrected. It's just business. February 2025. Authentic Beauty closed a Series A funding round, $65 million. Led by Fenty Beauty's early investors. Company valuation, $280 million. My stake, 73%, now worth $204 million on paper. We signed distribution deals with Sephora, Ulta, and Target. International expansion confirmed for spring 2025. 2 major celebrities reached out personally, asking to collaborate. Not because we paid them, but because they believed in what we represented. I wasn't just successful. I was systematically proving that everything my parents believed about beauty, about worth, about who deserves to be celebrated, was wrong. March 2025. My mother requested another meeting. This time she came to my office. The warehouse space in the arts district had evolved. 23 full-time employees now. Real offices, a product development lab, a photography studio where we shot campaigns with real people, not models. Victoria looked around, taking it all in. Her perfectly styled hair, her designer suit, looked suddenly out of place among our aesthetic of authentic imperfection. She searched for words. This is remarkable. Thank you. She sat down without being invited. Natalie, I've spent the last 3 months thinking about everything, about how I raised you, about what I taught you to believe about yourself. Okay, I was wrong. The words came out stiff, clearly painful. I judged you by standards that were cruel and limited. I measured you against an impossible ideal when you were already perfect as you were. I waited. Caroline saw it. She saw that you weren't built for my world because you were building something better. And I was too vain, too scared of losing control, too invested in a narrow definition of beauty to see it. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, Natalie, for everything. I looked at this woman who'd been my mother for 27 years, who'd measured my worth in dress sizes and Instagram followers. I appreciate you saying that, I said slowly, and I believe you mean it now. But here's the thing, Mom. I don't need your apology to feel beautiful. I don't need your approval to feel valuable. I needed those things when I was 10, when I was 16, when I was 24. I don't need them anymore. I know. That's what makes this harder. She looked at a wall covered with photos of our customers, every size, every shade, every type of beauty. Caroline gave you that money because she knew I'd fail you. And she was right. She stood up, smoothed her skirt. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking if someday, maybe, we could start over. Not as mother and daughter, as 2 women who happen to share a last name. I thought about Aunt Carolyn, about the velvet box, about the note that said, "Use this for revolution, not revenge." "I'm willing to have coffee sometime," I said. "That's all I can offer right now. That's more than I deserve." She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "She'd be proud of you, you know. Caroline. Not because of the money, because you're changing lives." After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, looking at the wall of customer photos, thinking about the journey from that hotel ballroom to this moment. April 2025. Authentic Beauty was valued at $340 million after a strategic investment from LVMH. My share, $248 million. We launched in 18 countries simultaneously, became the fastest growing beauty brand in North America. Time magazine featured us in a cover story, "The New Face of Beauty, How One Woman is Redefining an Industry." In 1 year, I'd turned $49 million into a $250 million company and a cultural movement. I wasn't the dumb, skinny one anymore. I was a successful entrepreneur, visionary, change maker. But more importantly, I was myself, fully, completely, unapologetically myself. Brooke and I met for lunch in May. First time we'd spoken face to face in over a year. She looked different. Still beautiful, obviously. But there was something softer in her eyes when she looked at me now. Vulnerability. "Nat, I don't even know what to say." She shook her head. "All this time I thought I was the lucky one." "You were, in a lot of ways." She winced. "Was I, though? You built something real. Something that matters. I'm just," she gestured at herself, "I'm just a face. And faces age. You're more than that, Brooke. You just haven't had to figure out what yet." She smiled sadly. "When did you get so wise?" "I was always this wise. You just weren't looking." We laughed. It wasn't the sisterhood I'd wanted as a kid, but it was honest, which was more than we'd ever had. June 2025. 1 year after they fired me, I hosted a small celebration at a rooftop venue in downtown LA. 60 people. Investors I'd worked with. Employees who'd believed in the vision. Customers who'd shared their stories. Margaret Wells gave a toast. To Caroline Pierce, who saw potential where others saw imperfection. And to Natalie, who proved her right. Everyone raised their glasses. Through the crowd, I saw my parents standing near the back. I'd invited them. Wasn't sure they'd come. After dinner, my father approached me. He'd been crying, I could tell. "You did all this in 1 year?" I had help, and I had something to prove. He touched my arm gently. "I failed you, Natalie. As a father, I failed you completely. I won't argue with that. Can we?" He searched for words. "Can we try to build something? Not the relationship we had? Something new? Something real?" "I'm willing to try," I said. "But I need you to understand something. I'm not building my life for your approval. I'm not creating this company to earn your love. I'm doing this because it's my purpose." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I understand. Looking back now, I understand something I couldn't have understood at 26. My aunt didn't leave me $49 million because I was smarter than Brooke. She left it to me because she knew I wouldn't let success corrupt me the way it had corrupted my mother. Being thin isn't my flaw. Being different isn't my weakness. Those things that made me wrong in my parents' eyes were the same things that made me see opportunities when everyone else looked away. Victoria judged worth by conventional beauty standards, by marketability, by fitting a narrow ideal. Caroline judged worth by vision, by empathy, by the capacity to see and celebrate all kinds of beauty. And now, finally, I get to judge my own worth, not by what my parents say, not by what my sister achieved, not by what any magazine cover declares beautiful, by my own standard, my own measure, my own truth. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you've ever been the overlooked one, the different one, the one they said wasn't enough, I want you to know something. You don't need a $49 million inheritance to prove your value, but you do need to give yourself permission to stop seeking approval from people who measure worth by impossible standards. My family underestimated me for 27 years. But I didn't need to destroy them to find peace. I just needed to stop waiting for them to see my beauty and start seeing it myself. That's the real inheritance my aunt left me. Not the money. The belief that I was already enough, exactly as I was. And nobody can ever take that away. If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that your worth isn't determined by the people who failed to see it, I want to hear from you. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment telling me your story. And if you want more stories like this, stories about women who found the courage to stand up for themselves, check the link in the description. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next time.